On behalf of PPKH, we would like to give our support to every effort in the development of Islamic economics, including in Indonesia, and various activities initiated by higher education institutions as agent of change to produce academics who are dedicated to business with Sharia principles. Congratulations to UIN Sunan Kalijaga as the 9th AICIF and 2nd ICS host. We also extend our appreciation to the chair, moderators, and presenters of call for papers and distinguished speakers who have been involved in these sessions. I hope with the mutual commitment, the implementation of the 9th AICIF and 2nd ICS is not just an event that passes, but an event that brings enlightenment and becomes an important routine forum to oversee the development of the Islamic economy on a global scope. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'du.
Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to welcome you back and thank you for returning. The following session will be our third plenary session, which will be handled by the Badan Pengelola Keuangan Haji, or the Hajj Fund Management Agency, with the theme of the pivotal role of Hajj Fund in strengthening an Islamic economy and halal industry towards economic recovery and sustainable development amidst the pandemic era.
Ayyuhal hadirun al-kiram, ahlan wa sahlan mujaddadan fi hadal barnamij al-jalsah al-thalithah bi'anwan Ad-Dawrul Ham li Sunadikil Hajj fi Ta'zizil Iqtisadil Islami wa Sina'atil Halal nahwal Inma'il Iqtisadi wa Tanmiyatil Mustadamah fi Dhil Asril Waba.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, this third plenary session will be delivered by Dr. Anggito Abimanyu, Magister of Science, as the head of the Executive Board of Hajj Fund Management Agency, and Mr. Muhammad Damsal Awang Damit as the Executive Director of Investments for Lembaga Urusan dan Tabung Haji and the Malaysian Hajj Pilgrims Fund Board. And finally, Mr. Zaki Muhammad Mansur as the head of the Islamic Financial Sector Resource Mobilization at Islamic Development Bank, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Ayyuhal hadirun al-kiram, na'tu ilal barnamij al-jalsah al-thalithah sataqumu biha ad-Duktur Anggito Abimanyu, Rais Hay'ah Idariyah li Sundukil Hajj Indonesia, Muhammad Damsal Awang Damit, Mudir Hay'ah Idariyah li Sundukil Hajj Malaysia, wa Zaki Muhammad Mansur, Rais Islamic Financial Sector fil Bank Al-Islami li Tanmiyah Jeddah المملكة العربية السعودية.
And finally, ladies and gentlemen, this plenary session will be moderated by Mr. Mohsin Tudla as the chairman of the board of directors at the World Hajj and Umrah Convention, Jeddah, Mecca, Saudi Arabia. To all of our participants, we hope you can all take as much as you can from the following session.
وهذه الجلسة سيقوم بها محسن تطلة رئيس الاجتماع العالمي للحج والعمرة جدة.
To Mr. Mohsin Tudla, the time and place is yours.
فعليه فليتفضل مشكورا.
Hello and Assalamu alaikum to everybody. I would like to introduce this session. Hello and Assalamu alaikum to everybody with this conference. My name is Mohsin Tutla. I will be moderating this session. I welcome the panelists for this particular conversation, which is a very important conversation. Today, we are going to look at the pivotal role of Hajj Fund in strengthening in Islamic economy and the halal industry towards economy recovery and sustainable development under the pandemic era. One of the important factors that we must all note is that the pandemic has brought forward certain uncertainties and has developed a certain way for us to move forward. The pandemic conditions have certainly affected the pilgrimage. Now, as we all know, in 2020, in March, when the news broke that the suspension of Umrah will begin, it sent shockwaves around the Muslim world. And we understood for the first time, we were witnessing unimaginable scenes with the Mataf area not full. It was vacant and it was heartbreaking. In an era where the pandemic has brought forward such instability, where it has crippled the financial capabilities of the communities who have been largely unemployed, unable to work, unable to save, they have been unable to plan in a way as they have in previous years. There is a significant role for the Hajj Fund and the management in making sure that the stability remains steadfast. So the role of Hajj Fund management has become even more, and we are more strongly depending on the infrastructure and the systems that have been developed by financial institutions. Today's conversation is to allow us to understand that pivotal role, to understand the history of the Hajj Fund management, to understand where they were before the pandemic, but now what is their role in helping the pilgrimage as well as the economy in rejuvenating moving forward. As we are all aware, the Hajj Fund contributors are from Muslim community who are saving to perform the pilgrimage. The Hajj Fund gives professional opportunity in managing the procurement of services, amenities, as well as the abilities for exceptional training. The Southeast Asian countries have been recognized by Saudi Arabia and the international community for paving the way and leading the conversation in pilgrim induction and preparation. The savings that take place with the funds are utilized in ways that the governments of each country feel it serves the best interest of its community and of the pilgrims. The Hajj Fund, when they are well managed, gives the opportunity to successfully implement national strategies to support economies. The Hajj Fund is sourced from within the Muslim community and therefore has a particular drive in supporting the Islamic economy and the halal industry thrive. Today, we are going to have panelists that are going to elaborate from their experience on the Hajj funds and how they vision to tackle and grow within a pandemic era. We have our first speaker for today and presenter, Dr. Anggito Abimanyu, Head of Executive Board of Badan Pengelola Kewangan Haji, or the Hajj Fund of Indonesia. Dr. Anggito, the time is yours.
Thank you, Mohsin. Thank you, Mohsin. Terima kasih. Thank you so much. I would rather speak last, actually, after Tapung Haji. We are nothing compared to Tapung Haji. We are just 4 years of the age, so we want to learn the experience of Tapung Haji managing the Hajj Fund. But since you have decided for me to speak first, I will speak candidly. I don't want to be more vocal on that because we are still learning. We are taking experience from Tapung Haji of Malaysia. We're sending staff to Tapung Haji. We are invited Tapung Haji. We want to copy everything that Tapung Haji has done, but we want to also learn from the experience that Tapung Haji is in the past. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Shalatu wassalamu ala mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain. Mohsin, this is our how many times we have met through webinar. Thank you so much for your nice introduction. It's always been giving some enlightening of discussion and education, and particularly to the students of UIN Yogyakarta and also the ASEAN universities who are attending this session. It's almost 400 participants on this webinar. Pak Zaki, thank you so much for your quick response. I know it's very late to invite you to this webinar as a panelist, but you always here for us. So particularly we pay the tribute to Yogyakarta, UIN Yogyakarta. Pak Zaki is also from Yogyakarta, so I know he's always will be willing to spend the time for part of the alma mater in Yogyakarta. But anyway, Mohsin, I will, and also audience, I will speak about two things. As you have said, that Hajj Fund and the vision to tackle the pandemic era that we are now facing, particularly in the area of Hajj and Umrah. Certainly, we hope that Umrah will reopen soon, then later, hopefully in the next coming weeks. Pak Damsal, ya, hopefully we will pray for that. We will fight for that.
Inshallah, we pray together.
Yeah, sure. My minister now is also in Saudi. Pak Zaki escorting him as well. I believe we want to make sure that hopefully by the time that Saudi announced of the reopening of the Umrah, we'll be able to enjoy the visit to the holy city of Makkah and Medina. Hopefully next year the Hajj will reopen again after 2 years suspended, and I know Mohsin has been fight for it. Thank you so much, Mohsin, for your tireless effort and make sure that Hajj during pandemic is visible. Is that correct, Mohsin? Yeah, visible and inshallah. Okay, can I have someone to share screen my presentation? Okay. I will do very quickly. I don't want to. I'm not prepared the presentation to address the issue of halal, but certainly what we're doing is halal basically because we are serving halal food. We are serving a fashion halal. We're serving everything under the protocol of halal. So basically, what we're doing is promoting halal industry anyway. Next, lanjut. Just a quick outline on the introduction and the Hajj Fund during pandemic, financial performance and challenges and futures of Indonesia Hajj Fund. Next. Oh, the map is disappeared. Where's the map? There should be a geographic map here, but anyway, Indonesia, as you know, is the largest Hajj visitors to Saudi after Saudi itself. So we every year we are sending about 220,000 pilgrims to Saudi for Hajj. So basically we are the highest number of Hajj pilgrims outside Saudi. This is number has been taken before the suspension of the Hajj. Next. As far as the Umrah is concerned, we are number 2 after Pakistan. So basically every year we are sending about 1 million more our Muslims to perform Hajj and Umrah. So basically it's a big market to us. It's a dream for Muslims to visit at least once in their lifetime for Hajj. And most of us, or most of the Indonesian Muslim regularly visit to Saudi for Umrah. So economically, Hajj and Umrah is quite a significant amount in terms of rupiah spent, in terms of rupiah earning, in terms of the investment opportunity. Next. We look at the Saudi vision of 2030. This is certainly something we will look it up as our vision, also to follow what Saudi have been producing visions. If you look at the numbers, it's quite ambitious in terms of number of Hajj and Umrah visitors, and also number of millions Hajj visitors in the coming years. So we are very much looking forward for the implementation of the Hajj Saudi vision in 2030. Next. We are also looking at the Saudi vision at large, not only Hajj and Umrah. I know Mohsin has been working on it, so I really want to hear from you what is the status of this implementation of the Saudi Vision 2030. We have seen the road project has been built, Idar Al Sunnah also being built, New King Abdul Aziz Airport has been enlarged, and I know Mohsin has been heavily involved on that, so you may want to update us as well. What is the status of all this project that has been put forward and has been planned a year before, but certainly now the pandemic, there's some delay in terms of the implementation of that. The electronic system in Hajj has been implemented in 2019 partially. Certainly we wish to implement it in last year, but due to the pandemic, I wish to implement this electronic system Hajj by the time the Hajj gate is reopened. Next. Now, as far as the Hajj Fund Management Agency or PPKH, I think I have been sending this information through our website also. The Hajj one is the public institutions directly under the president. So it's established 2017. So we are just starting in the year 4 now, coming to year 5. So we are pretty much new in this area, although the system of the has been implemented for quite some time. The system adopting in this collecting fund from registered Hajj and then the money being invested is quite some time. But as an institution, we're just starting 4 years ago. Before that, I was a DG Hajj, so we were starting it as well. And now our current asset is about 11 billion US dollars. Nothing to compare to tabung haji Pak Damsal, certainly. We are accumulating it, and then we're trying to adopting the tabung haji system as well. Hopefully we will be able to hand in hand together to build our Islamic finance stronger in the year comes. And in 2030, we certainly, with that trend, we should be able to catch up what tabung haji has been achieved. We have a chairman and a professional chairman. Myself, I was appointed as a chairman by the president, and we have 7 members of supervisory board as well as 7 members of executive board. Next. We have, luckily, we have been audited by our Supreme Court audit body. We have received unqualified opinions, or in bahasa Indonesia wajar tanpa pengecualian. So I think we are a trusted institutions. Then we have to show it because Hajj fund is very sensitive. I was told as well in Malaysia, the Hajj fund is very, very sensitive. Everything, there's no room for mistake, yeah, Pak Damsal, for tabung haji. Pak Zaki also knows quite well how to handle this because it's politically sensitive, socially sensitive. Every single Muslim would like to know where's the money is coming from, where's the money is being used. Today and yesterday it was news, Pak Zaki may be well aware of that. One, we have some move in Muamalat, everybody was questioning, and I'm in 24 hours to answer all these questions by Muslim, particularly and public in general. But anyway, Alhamdulillah, I'm happy to be part of this PPKH. Lanjut, next. Basically, our funds is quite flexible in terms of utilization of that. We have been given a mandate to invest funds 100% of that, and there's a regulation on what portions to invest, what kind of investment, and what kind of direct investment we allowed to, and what kind of instrument we allowed to do it. Basically, as far as the Sharia principles being held, I think there's room for that, room for us to invest. Basically, given the regulation that we have sukuk equity portfolio investment. We have also room for investment in gold. We have 20% direct investment. We are also invest in other type of investment. Lanjut. Next. This is the uses of return. Basically, our return is to provide a subsidy and provide for deposit to waiting list pilgrims in the form of virtual account. We also allocate for social funds, and we also being given 5% for operational support. Lanjut, next. The flow of funds basically is typical of tabung haji as well. So basically, people or Muslim who would like to register pay a down payment, and they have to wait for a certain period of time, but they have been given a virtual account. During their waiting time, they've been given a manfaat, that they've given a return according to regulation from the Ministry of Religious Affairs. Some of them been given to subsidy, but some small portion been given, returned back as an individual account. We have been given akad wakalah, basically to from the Hujjat, the registered Hajj, to give a mandate to PPKH to manage the funds. And then we also declared then we be providing a blanket guarantee, basically under the authority of Lembaga Penjamin Simpanan Deposit Insurance Scheme. So the money is safe, basically, and being well monitored by our central bank and our OJK, the Authority of Financial Supervisory Agency. So, and then we trying to be very transparent, and the Hajj should be able to check their balance every time they checking, so basically we'll be very transparent on how much money they earn, how much money being used for other purposes. Next. This is the proportion of the existing investment allocation. We haven't had any major investment in Saudi except the ISDP has been very generously. We have the member of APIF, the Akaf Property Investment Fund. We are number 3, I think, as far as the portion of our investment in APIF. APIF has been our vehicle to invest in number of properties in Islamic countries. So basically, we have mostly domestic investment and one international investment in the form of the Islamic Development Bank through APIF. Lanjut, next. This is the fund is basically provide the subsidy for the regular Hajj, cost for regular Hajj, to paying the air ticket, accommodation, domestic living costs, catering, and then providing service the Arafah, Mina, and Musdalifah, and also the intercity bus. Next. Now, I'd like to conclude by saying this. Our total fund is quite healthy now. It's almost $11 billion. Every year, we have been able to increase the amount by around 10 trillion rupiah per year. Financial return was quite healthy. We've been jumped quite significantly because we are now being tax exempted by the government. Thanks to government who last year our financial return or our funds has been tax exemption. There's some decline in new registration because of COVID. Usually we've been able to attract about 700 registrations, but due to COVID, last year we received only half of the regular new registration. This year even smaller than that, but hopefully it will be recovered by the end of next year. The investment allocation about 70%, and we have a social fund. The number of social fund is quite decent, quite significant to help the Islamic organization, Islamic mosque, education, the Islamic educations, and the social instrument included the social engagement on this COVID prevention and also health care for the COVID as well. Next. I think I would like to finish by how PPKH managed during pandemic. Certainly, we have renewed our 5-year plan because of the COVID. We managed excess funds due to Hajj cancellation. We have now, because of 2 years not performing Hajj, we have increased the accumulation of funds. We provide more incentive for those who are waiting list. So we double the amount of waiting list recipients. We also provide the stimulus for Islamic teachers, Hajj guides, and as others as well. We keep pushing our structural reform. We are improving our human capital quality. We modernize our system. We digitalize the registration. We improve our investment protocols. We increase improve our strategy, particularly with regards to year after the COVID ended, and we should be able to enter to the Saudi market. I think I would like to stop now. I think because I have been stuck up too much time. I will return my speech to Muslim. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
So, Dr. Anggito, thank you so much for deliberating and for that presentation. I believe it is the vision of the Hajj Fund, and I believe this conversation of Hajj Fund development there was a fantastic done by the Malaysian community and by Tabang Haji. I think even for the students that are listening, it is important for them to understand the important role of the problems that the Hajj Fund is actually solving. As the Southeast Asian community are well aware that the demand for performing pilgrimage is extremely high, and the opportunity for everyone being given an equal chance is extremely difficult. So a mechanism has been developed to allow for people to save, and then to also give the opportunity for selection in a fair way, granting people the opportunity to go and perform the Hajj especially. But one of the most important things, what I take away from the conversation, is that the Hajj funds, the deposits that are being received, is that they are working tirelessly and extremely hard to also provide back a return for the community that has provided the deposits. What's extremely interesting is that the mechanism of receiving funds from the Muslim community, and then for the funds that have been collected to be used on the halal economy, creates a chain of supporting the economic development of the Islamic halal industry. And that is a cycle that is between the regulators, the governments, and the community and the depositors for incrementally improving the national interest. So that was very well articulated by Dr. Anggito Abimanyu. One of the key points, I think, what we are looking at when he mentioned with regards to performance is how the fund performed under pandemic conditions, especially with the targets that they expect, as well as how the deposits and how there was a decrease in deposits being made under pandemic conditions. Of course, there's uncertainty of how do you meet now the current demand and also the backlog, and how you take on new people wanting to go, and then how does that affect when the opportunity for pilgrims to go. So there are two sides. Granting that opportunity and providing those vital subsidies that create that core value that those countries that do not have Hajj funds have. That's number one. Number two, the fund working extremely hard to make sure that there is a financial return for the money that is deposited. And that is a lot of hard work to achieve, especially under pandemic conditions. And as well as keeping performance up and the confidence that the community needs to remain committed and continue their registration for the pilgrimage. So as they are moving forward, you can be in a much more stronger position when the recovery begins to take place. So Dr. Anggito Abimanyu, thank you so much for your presentation. I would like to invite our next presenter, Mohammed Damshal Awang Damit. He's the Executive Director and Investment at Lembaga Tabung Haji, Malaysia. I have managed to have a long-standing relationship with Tabung Haji when I was first introduced to the organization in 2012. And I believe the work that Tabung Haji is doing is recognized not just here in Saudi Arabia, but they are the benchmark around the world. Their significance or the strength that they have shown on how collectivity and good management can improve the amenities, the facilities, and the experience of the pilgrim, as well as contributing back and strengthening the Islamic economy. So I would like to welcome Mr. Damshal for his presentation. We look forward to it. The time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Mohsin, for your kind introduction. It's good that you have acquainted yourself with Tabung Haji since 2012. We are honored. Thank you very much. Bapak Dr. Anggito, thank you also your kind remarks. Actually, to tell you the truth, Tabung Haji itself is still learning. It's still learning. Our journey is still long. Looking at, I believe this is a knowledge sharing session. And then I believe the journey is still long. In fact, when we share with us the statistics that BPKH has over the years, actually is very impressive. For $11 billion in 4 years, Dr. Anggito, we have to take 40 years, more than 40 years to achieve that level. You only take 4 years. So you can overtake Tabung Haji in no time, Another statistic that you share with us, Malaysia is not even top 10 in the Hajj number every year. So imagine, so your pilgrims, the potential that the pilgrims economy, if I can say that, to overtake Tabung Haji anytime, time. So that's why we believe this is more of knowledge sharing. We also want to learn from BPKH, from IDB, and from World Wakaf institution under Encik Mohsin. So we together as a ummah, inshallah, we can contribute to the global economy, especially the Muslim economy. So my presentation is very much different, and I hope I compliment Dr. Anggito. So I go straight into the economic contribution of Hajj fund, if you don't mind. So I will have my presentation. So if I can have the presentation, Jamri. So is it? Do you see the presentation?
Not yet. It's not yet appears.
It does appear, yeah.
It's not appearing, Mr. Mohammed Amshal. Let's just wait. I think there's a technical challenge. Let's just wait for them to re-upload your presentation.
There's a lagging.
Yeah, lagging.
While waiting for the screen, I think I can share with you. I'm going straight to the Islamic capital market. Just to share with you, if you look into when Malaysia or even globally, when we embark on the Islamic finance journey many years ago, I think more than 40 years ago, I think maybe Dr. Anggito is aware, the focus is very much on Islamic banking. Probably it is right to do that at that time because the focus at that time, because we are a developing country, we need to develop, and then banking is a good tool, so a good financing tool for countries like Malaysia, Indonesia. It becomes a catalyst for economic development because we are developing countries. In fact, we were known as Asian tigers many years back due to the rapid industrialization. So it makes sense that we focus more on the banking side. So the focus is very much on Islamic bank. And in fact, we have the first Islamic bank in Malaysia, Bank Islam in 1980s. So because of that focus, very much regulatory innovation, product innovation on Islamic finance, very much focused on bank. However, if you look carefully into BPKH and Tabung Haji, we are more like a fund manager rather than a bank. So in fact, Tabung Haji predates Islamic banks. We are in 1963. In fact, if you look into the Muslim history, the Baitul Mal predates bank. There was no bank during those days. Baitul Mal is actually fund manager. So we predates everything. So fund manager should be, I think, should complement, I would say, Islamic bank if you want to develop this economy. So if I can go to this slide, if you look carefully, this is, I just give a Malaysian example. We can see bank in general is bigger than capital market. I'm not sure about Indonesia, but I think in developed countries as well, we can see banks is bigger than capital market itself. However, if you look carefully in detail, in granularity, we can see that quite interestingly, Islamic capital market is bigger than Islamic bank in Malaysia. So that's a good, healthy development. We welcome that because it is still a complement, but we believe that capital market should be the focus of Islamic finance because it's have a better multiplier. It's closer to the Islamic principle of risk sharing. So if you look on the left-hand side, it's good to see that Islamic capital market is bigger than the bank itself. And if you look into right-hand side, we can see that the Islamic AUM, we talk about fund management industry, it's about 1/4 of the overall AUM industry. In other words, from Malaysia perspective, there's still room to grow for Islamic fund management. Next, please. So you can see that the Islamic capital market, the contribution to the GDP in the case of Malaysia is much bigger than the Islamic bank itself. It's like 1.7 times of the Islamic bank itself. This is where Tabung Haji play its role because we are more on the Islamic capital market. So what are the essential functions for Malaysian economy and our contribution? First, when we focus more on Islamic capital market, it becomes an effective vehicle to raise capital, especially if you have a big capital size. It's actually cheaper to raise capital using Islamic capital market. And then it's effectively channel capital from surplus to short areas, okay, to short of supply. So from surplus to deficit. So rather than Islamic banking, we're very much on intermediary on the deposit to the borrowing. We basically effectively mobilize the resources much more efficiently. The third one, we provide liquidity for functional capital market. Tabung Haji itself, as I mentioned just now, we are hybrid. Our deposit or our liability is just like a bank deposit, where it is on demand. Tomorrow you put 100 million, today you put 100 million, you can withdraw your 100 million tomorrow. So it's like a savings account, but on the asset side, we are like a fund management where the duration is longer. So with a capital market, we can manage these mismatches in asset and liability because it provides liquidity and also provide price discovery. So you can price the asset classes better. So you can see the real price of the market. The fourth one, it is also responsible investment through closed economic management. So when we go into Islamic capital market, it's closer to the economy, it's closer to the ground. So it contributes a better economic multiplier to the economy and to the community actually. And also it acts as stewards of client interest. So we look into the stakeholders' interest more closely, especially in the financial needs, not just on Hajj saving, but also sometimes we use they use Tabung Haji as a financial planning tool, financial for their family, for the education, and so on. So one of the tools they also use to the point of using Tabung Haji as financial planning tool. Next, please. So this is, as I said just now, this is not as a rivalry between Islamic Bank and Islamic Fund Management, but it is how we complement Islamic Bank together. So if you look carefully, Islamic Bank act as a fund intermediary, but fund manager like us and BPKH, we mobilize funds, okay, from surplus to deficit. So what are the sources of liabilities on the Islamic Bank is the deposit on demand. On Tabung Haji, this is where the uniqueness. If you look into a normal unit trust, the sources of liability is the money, the fund, the unit trust, okay? But for Tabung Haji, the source of liability also a deposit, just like a bank. So for 1 ringgit that you deposit, you still get 1 ringgit. But if you are unit trust, you put 1 ringgit, you may get more than 1 ringgit or less depending on the valuation. So we fix it nominally. When it comes to assets, if you look into this Islamic Bank, they're very much focused on low risk financial asset, because when you put deposit in Islamic Bank, you cannot afford to have a asset in high risk, like a long gestation project and so on. So because otherwise it's a very huge mismatch between liabilities and asset, or asset and liabilities. Whereas in Tabung Haji, because of the nature, we can go from low, medium risk and some portion into high risk. This is driven by our SAA, Strategic Asset Allocation. So we can afford to take higher risk than the normal bank, because we can see, even though our deposit nature means that you can withdraw tomorrow, but when we analyze our deposit, apparently a big chunk, actually about 80% of our deposit is actually, we call it sticky deposit. It is being deposited by youngsters, by young families who wants to go for Hajj in many years to come. So it's very sticky and it's very stable. That was quite surprising us. So when this sticky deposit comes to Tabung Haji, it makes the investment job easy, because I can match long-term asset for long-term sticky deposit, even though the nature is on demand, but it is sticky. So it's a very good attributes that we have on our deposit. Then look into the objective of the profit. Islamic Bank is profit driven, and we call it very much in the convention, we call it spread play. They take the spread between financing, between the funding and the financing. Okay, so from the FD, then the difference between we call it spread. So it's spread driven, and it is very much fixed. It's very much fixed. Whereas on our side, on the fund manager, we are more musyarakah driven. We are more profit sharing. So it is very, that's what I mentioned, it is very much closer to the Islamic principle, and it also closer to the national agenda, because we can also invest in long-term asset of the government. Contohnya, for example, government issued long-term sukuk or long-term government guaranteed sukuk. So we also indirectly or directly, involved in promoting national agenda, or especially national economic agenda. So if I were to answer the title, say what happened during the pandemic with this kind of structure? Okay, in general, before I answer that, if I look into Islamic bank and Islamic fund management, and if I were to compare Islamic fund management with conventional fund management, frankly, we are still much smaller in the market, very small. We have to view the fund management from two, the breadth and the depth. To tell you frankly, the breadth and the depth of Islamic fund management is still much lower than conventional. However, the breadth that we offer, the breadth, how broad it is more unique than conventional because it's very much value driven. I give you example, like Mr. Mohsin himself, he is in charge of World Waqaf. This is the breadth of the product that we have. We have Waqaf product in our financial system. We don't see that in conventional. And how about the depth? How can we see the deepening of the Waqaf? We can have a subcategorization of Waqaf that can serve different social agenda. I think Mr. Mohsin is very much more knowledgeable on this area. And for fund managers, when we have a different subcategorization Waqaf, inshallah, in the future, we should strive hard to work on this. I can invest on different risk profile, and then we can have a different return profile. So this is the thing, we should not just mimic the conventional fund management in terms of breadth and depth. We have our own breadth and depth to cater for our own economic development, inshallah. Next, please. So this is just to show the uniqueness of Tabung Haji. That also means the challenges that we have. Like a normal fund manager, if someone to invest in us for $1 that they invest, it can be volatile. It can be higher than $1 and less. But on our side, it's hybrid. As I mentioned just now, it's a hybrid structure. So the asset management is not as straightforward as a bank, not as straightforward as a fund manager. So if you look into a hybrid structure, TAH assets are in the form of multi-asset. We have equity, we have sukuk, we have private equity and properties. But our liability structure is like a bank. I mentioned just now, it's on demand. So it's more like a defined benefit. So in a way, you might have like an actuarial study as well when you want to do the strategic asset allocation. The second challenge that we have, it's also unique type attributes, is we do not have capital. So when Dr. Anggito shared with us that you receive financial funding or support from the government, we kind of envy you because we have zero support and we don't have capital. Unlike bank, you have capital that can be used to absorb some of the risk. That's why you call it like capital adequacy. We don't have capital. So our risk management is very unique. The risk management should look into how the fund can absorb the market risk, the credit risk, and the liquidity risk. We have no help from the capital. So everything finance. So there's a unique risk management from Tabung Haji perspective. And number 3, as I mentioned, for every RM1, it will remain RM1. So with these challenges, what we do during pandemic, so actually pandemic give us some unique opportunity to refine our investment strategy in terms of strategic asset allocation and risk management. During the pandemic, syukur alhamdulillah, we managed to improve our reserve positioning. We managed to maintain to refine our SAA and our TAA. TAA is tactical asset allocation. Okay, this is our SAA. So if you can see that we somehow can take slightly bigger, higher risk than bank. 58% of our SAA is in sukuk, 11% in real estate, 18% in domestic equity, and so on. So we in terms of these assets, we take some kind of higher risk than the bank, and we share this risk together with our deposit. Maybe you can share the risk tolerance. So this is where we refine during the pandemics, and this is what we get During the primary, this is the refinement that we do. So we have two kind of risk statement. One is risk awareness statement. We make it aware. I mean, we don't have to comply, but you have to be aware because most of them are beyond control. So the first one, tabung haji will be alerted if there is a greater than 40% chance of profit distribution falling between Islamic deposit rate plus, in other words, 100%. In other words, this is to put ourselves on our toes, that we make sure that we give competitive hibah to our depositors. So in order to give competitive hibah, what are the things that we can control is the risk. So these are the risk awareness statement that we have. And then there's the second one, tabung haji will be alerted, will alerted if there is a greater chance of 10% falling below the liability. This is in our act. In our act, it says tabung haji cannot give hibah if the asset is below the liability. So we do a risk analytics, and this is that we come up during our refinement years. So it cannot fall below 10% chance of asset below liability. If it falls below, we cannot give hibah. The second level, that one is on enterprise level. That means those who are the division that will be responsible to this are not just investment. The Hajj department will be responsible, the deposit department will be responsible, even the IT department will be responsible. So this is enterprise level. So everyone is responsible. Then we have an investment level, we call it risk tolerance statement. It's more like an actuarial study where it says, number one, tabung haji will not tolerate a greater than 45% on a 3-year rolling return, falling below 3%. Okay, why we use 3%? Because this is the new normal in Malaysia. Of course, this is the benchmark that we have currently. Of course, if you were to compare with Indonesia, I think the benchmark of return is, of course, much higher in Indonesia. But on our side, we put it at minimum of 3%. So it should not be falling below 45% in the next 10 years. The second one, we should not tolerate a greater than 25% of a 12-month rolling total return below 0%. So we cannot get a total loss. So if you look carefully on our side, we focus more on total return. Total return means the combination of unrealized return and realized return. So we don't just simply realize return for hibah, we realize return because it is a market condition to realize. It is a market justification to realize. So in other words, it is market, market-driven kind of investment. So I think that's all from my side. I'm sorry, Encik Mohsin is totally different from Dr. Anggito, but I hope it complements the discussion that we have today, inshallah.
Mohammed Damshah, thank you so much for your presentation. Myself personally, I've just learned a lot that I didn't and I was not aware of. I love the term that you have put out there, sticky deposit.
Yeah.
I think you've just coined the new term. I was having a meeting with Vision 2030 or Duyuf Rahman, and one of the conversations that we were having was to truly study the characteristic of a pilgrim, because a pilgrim has very unique characteristics which is not the same as a general traveler, and the way that we see it is that they will not have the same characteristic as a general depositor. I think from my conversations, I've come to also realize that when a pilgrim is depositing with your institution, it is not only a deposit, but it is the cementation of an intention. And once a person has made an intention and they have made a deposit with that particular intention, they are not going to want to change that. There was something beautiful that I heard, which is that, and this is something within our faith and in our religion, that we are judged by our intentions. And when a pilgrim, we know the challenges, there is a lot of people wanting to go and perform pilgrimage from Indonesia, from Malaysia, and the opportunity is not there, and they know it's difficult. But when they have made that deposit, they feel that even if they did not manage to make the pilgrimage themselves, the deposits, the kind of subsidiaries that are being achieved, it is also complementing the experience of those that are having the opportunity to go. So there is that beautiful collective will, which organizations such as yourselves has managed to facilitate. And it has also managed to give that calm within the hearts, because when that strong desire, even if they are not physically there, they are still a part of it by the infrastructure like institutions as yourself has created. As you were during your presentation, there was a question that came to my own mind. And I wanted to understand that that particular characteristic about a pilgrim wanting to remain steadfast with their intention, and having understood that in a pandemic era, the probability and their opportunity to go would substantially decrease and the waiting list would substantially increase. I saw from the presentation from Dr. Anggito Abimanyu that the number of deposits, they went down from the previous year, but they still remain they were still receiving deposits. My question is that what was the rate of depositors withdrawing their deposits that they normally would not have during the pandemic? Was there a higher rate of deposit withdrawal during the pandemic?
Brother Mohsen, this is really surprising to us. You know why? During the pandemic, the deposit is actually increasing. This is a total surprise for during these 2 years of we are very ready in our liquidity management. We make sure that we have ample liquidity should there be withdrawal during the pandemic. But shukr alhamdulillah, I mean, this stickiness, I think as I mentioned, is spot on what you have shared with us, is the value attachment to the deposit. You know, when they deposit this, they don't just deposit money, they deposit their soul, they deposit their values, they deposit their, you know, the intrinsic attachment to the value of pilgrimage, even though they have not gone to pilgrimage. And also the issue of zakat, because net of zakat, what we do is net of zakat. So shukr alhamdulillah, we are quite surprised ourselves. We put so much liquidity into the system, but shukr alhamdulillah, these 2 years, actually it has increased in our deposit from below 80 million, now above 80 billion. So we are quite surprised ourselves. I think the attachment is there. In fact, when we do a study on stickiness, first those the young ones, and then those young family, old family, the retired one. So we can see that the demography is more towards the younger ones. So it means they are more sticky. And then even those who have gone to Hajj, they are also sticky. They still want to maintain the money in Tabung Haji, but there are still few millionaires. Okay, this is another issue. There are still millionaires who are very much sophisticated in terms of investment. They move the money around. So, but this is okay because we focus more on the sticky one, and we are quite blessed, shukr alhamdulillah. During this pandemic, the deposit is actually growing. So we learn something from here.
I think that's actually amazing. It's very, very unexpected.
Yeah.
That's why I was particularly looking to that. And something else you've just touched upon, the kind of brand that you've developed. It's not people only with the intention to performing the pilgrimage. Even after they've done, they've understand in the national agenda and how the funds are being invested as being a first option, in that being the vehicle where they would like to deposit their money. And that is something else that you just brought to my attention, because I simply thought that Tabung Haji or institutions as yours only attract pilgrims. But by the quality in the results you are driving through and the values by which you are operating is also creating interest for people that are not intending to go for pilgrimage, that may have to continue with the bank. So I think that is some amazing developments that you have just shared with us today. So thank you, Mr. Mohammed Amshad, for your presentation. It was most appreciated. I would like to invite our third presenter, Mr. Zaki Mohammed Mansour. He is the head of Islamic Financial Sector Resource Mobilization at the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. For those that have managed to visit the Islamic Development Bank in Jeddah, you will understand that they do critical work and they do a lot in terms of investing in economies, Muslim economies around the world, developing infrastructure and key resources within countries to make sure that they are optimal in their deliverables. So it's an amazing support institution around the world. And this is why I believe a lot of Islamic financial institutes have confidence to also deposit and their money with Islamic Development Bank, who are leading numerous initiatives, especially within the halal sector around the world. So without any further ado, I would just like to invite Mr. Zaki Mohammed Mansur for his presentation. Thank you so much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Brother Mohsin, for the opportunity. Thank you, Pak Anggito, for the invitation. It is today a very great honor to be in the speaking panel here, especially also with Pak Damshal, who I'm humbled to be in the same panel with him, who I have learned a lot indirectly on the managing the Tabung Haji in Malaysia. And of course, he has been emulated by 57 member countries who are striving to manage their Hajj fund management on their own. Thank you very much. And also, I'm very delighted today, especially very happy to be in this forum, because I wish that I'm in Ambarok more now. As you know, as Pak Anggito said, I am a native of Yogyakarta. 30 years ago, when the first time I was in students Gajah Mada University, it was in EIN or UIN that I seek the information regarding Bank Tanpa Bunga at that time. There are many scholars in EIN that we strive to ask for. Gajah Mada, of course, I learned for economics, but most of the Islamic economics and at that time Bank Tanpa Bunga was in UIN. And also, of course, the Islamic Development Bank is also honored to have supported the physical or the project in UIN for the university and other UIN in Indonesia. Thank you very much. And today I would just like to also share with you the presentation that I have. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Just for my fellow students in UIN, I'm sure that you are very familiar with the Islamic Development Bank, but just to get a small glimpse of who we are, is that we were established in 1975. Right now, the member countries is 57 member countries. The last two, or the last one that joined the IDB was the country of Guyana in South America. We have 8 regional hubs in Egypt, Morocco, Kazakhstan, Senegal, Turkey, Indonesia, Nigeria, and Bangladesh. And they are very fully operational, and 3 hubs in UAE, Uganda, and Suriname. And we have also launched the Center of Excellence in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. All our financial transaction, as you know, is in compliance with the Islamic law or Sharia. As you can see, our geographical coverage, we are almost the same as with the World Bank, actually, because all other multilateral institutions are regional. For example, the African Development Bank, European Investment Bank, Asian Development Bank, and European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. And as everyone knows in this forum, we are a multilateral development bank who specializes in project finance, financing or loans, technical assistance, and line of finance, with the aim of development of agriculture, infrastructure, education, and healthcare. And which I would like to speak to you today is on the equity investment and line of financing for the development of Islamic financial institution, which is directly in line with the Hajj Funds Management Agency. For our products and services, we foster socio-economic development. We promote comprehensive human development in 50 member countries. We promote and expand the Islamic finance sector industry, as mentioned. We offer development financing with the aim of promoting socio-economic development, building capacity and promote technical cooperation. And lastly, to facilitate integration of Islamic Development Bank's member countries among themselves and with the rest of the world. Just to share with you our 10-year strategic framework, we have a strategic objective, which is number 1, inclusivity, become a preferred partner for member countries, connectivity, to be a strong catalyst for South-to-South cooperation. I'm happy to report to you that IDB is the only multilateral development bank that is for, by, and from South-to-South cooperation. We do not have G8 or G7 countries within our member countries. And for the last of strategic objective is the Islamic financial growth, which is leading as the leading reference in Islamic finance. The strategic pillars that we are encompassing is economic and social infrastructure, private sector development, inclusive social development, cooperation between member countries, and lastly, as we will talk about, Islamic financial sector growth, which is the key mandate of ISDB across the board in relevance and impact. Distinguished audience and guests, the Islamic development support to Islamic financial sector is a significant one because, as you know, that we have an IFI equity investment and AQAF investments, and it is between that our mode of operation is divided for equity investing. We are the vocal point, and monitoring and exiting. Right now, the total portfolio that we have is 343 million in portfolio disbursement amount. Please bear in mind that 343 is from 40 years ago, so it was gradually increasing. Number 2 is that across 33 Islamic financial institutions, including Bank Muamalat, which I will elaborate later. Number 3 is that the total assets of the 33 Islamic financial institutions is 69 billion. The portfolio value, book value is 413. Of course, the market value may be a multiple of that. And also, alhamdulillah, by the operations of this 33 Islamic financial institution, we're involved in 23 million retail depositors, 1.3 million policy holders, and 47,000 employees. Just to share with you, this is our map of where we are. As you can see, 20% is in GCC, 23% is in Europe and CIS, 18% in MENA, and also 18% Sub-Saharan Africa. Southeast Asia is 12%, 9% in South Asia. As you can see, this is the network of financial institutions. What I wanted to emphasize here, also Brother Muhsin, is that the Islamic financial institution here is actually a manifestation of to manage also the Hajj funds management of each country, because Malaysia is the leading proponent right now, and hopefully Indonesia will be able to influence with Malaysia because of the two to have other countries to have the same operations. Now we have the ones that are the same model that we can think of is Jordan, but if you can see in Nigeria, in Sudan, in Egypt, in Pakistan, in Bangladesh, and in India, to the best of our knowledge, the management is still on a year-to-year basis. There is no funds management agency like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Jordan. Hopefully the three will be able to carry out, and in the time being, we hope that these banks that we hold will be a catalyst and be a partner to the fund management agencies going forward. Because most of these banks, if we can interconnect between them, they can work together in the financing of Hajj pilgrim houses. They can finance the catering. They can finance together. I know Pak Anggito and of course Pak Damsyah has been trying to unite all the funds management agencies in the world. However, please do consider the banks that within IDB's member countries, and we are very happy to also share the joy that and the optimism that BPKH have been entrusted by 57 member countries to be now the main shareholders of Bank Muamalat. As you can imagine, with Bank Muamalat, with BPKH's capability, its status, and its projected operation in the future, it will be able to harness the investment in Bank Muamalat, and Bank Muamalat will be able to play more part in Hajj ecosystem, for example, on the financing of Hajj pilgrims operations and whatnot. So we hope that the development where BPKH is now the main shareholder of Bank Muamalat, where IDB is still there also, will hopefully transform the discussion later on how the funds management agencies in member countries can work together, and how BPKH, with its ownership in Bank Muamalat, can actually relate or cooperate with all these banks in other member countries and all the financial institutions that IDB are also involved in terms of equity investments, to be able to actually reshape the industry of a Hajj ecosystem, from the housing, from the catering, from the transportation, from even the ground handling. And Brother Mokshin, you are the expert in this, that you may be able to shed light on this, how the potential synergies between the Hajj funds and the Islamic banks that we are managing, and we are there as a significant shareholder, can benefit the pilgrims as a whole. Thank you. And then this is a slide that we want to show you the effect of our cooperation and our investments in member countries. So we hope that this chart can be, in 20 years, is another chart between fund management agencies of the world, leading by Malaysia, Indonesia, and Jordan. We hope that this chart, in 20 years, it's going to be another chart with all the fund management agencies here on the map. And second of all, I just would like to introduce some of our products at IDB that we are involved with BPKH, is that some of the Hajj funds and some of the investment funds, Islamic in member countries, may consider to cooperate with us. We are also managing the AICIF Properties Investment Fund. It is authorizing the AICIF support via an impact investment fund. So this particular fund is an Islamic mode of financing to promote a form of Islamic social finance. It commenced in 2001. It started providing financing for development of idle Waqaf lands, has become a major unique development model as MDBs. And these are, this fund is just one way that the Hajj funds of our member countries may want to consider later if they establish a long-term fund, because it benefits directly to investment in our Muslim world, which is vacant and it is not permitted because of the banking system, the conventional. This is the model that we do, the AICIF for operational model. It is a beneficiary organization, a yayasan or a foundation. We partnered with them. Point number 3, we joint financing for project construction of a building. Number 4, real estate AICIF project. The income generated goes to a special account, and it goes to the repayment of the financing. We are focused on SDGs. So the SDGs that we reach for the AICIF is SDG number 1, 3, 4, 8, 10, 11, 16, and 17. And the shareholders, happy to announce that also BPKH, that everybody knows, is the 3rd largest shareholder. And these are the shareholders of AICIF from Islamic Bank of Bangladesh, Al Barakah Bank, Jordan Islamic Bank, and Tadamon Islamic Bank. This is the shareholding. As you know, Badan BPKH is the 3rd now. And number 1 is Islamic Development Bank and OIC, and other 19 or other 18 shareholders. The revenue, the types of project finance with AICIF is residential buildings, commercial buildings, mixed-use development, new construction, existing property investment, existing property. We hope that we can co-finance with other Hajj funds together, because the project profile can be enhanced together if we can actually have a co-club deal. The development impact, as you see, of the 55% that we financed, 27 countries globally, value of $1.2 billion. 17 are supporting the education in universities. 17 projects are supporting religious and education AICIF institutions. 16 of them are supporting various charitable relief, 2 projects supporting health sector. Now, of course, most of these are basically a property or real estate, but we are moving into other sector, for example, health sector and others. And 3 projects supporting youth development and empowerment. As you can see, the geographical distribution of APIF beneficiaries, of course, is MENA. Saudi Arabia is most of them because it's close, but it is growing to Africa, Uganda, Kenya, who is not even a member country, Malawi, not a member country, Tanzania, and then in Europe, Bosnia is not a member country, Macedonia, Switzerland, Turkey, Indonesia, and UK. Bangladesh, of course, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka. We hope that the Wakaf set up in both Malaysia and Indonesia will be able in the future to harness more projects to be able to be financed. The financial impact, the impact APIF, the financial impact for APIF shareholders, there's a dividend distribution of 2.5 to 5%. The capital gains also is in addition. Social impact, 16 project, as I mentioned, a non-profit, 17 education, 17 religious Awqaf institution, 2 projects supporting youth empowerment, and 3 projects in health sector. The financial impact is to transform the ideal lands to income-generating properties, purchase of properties, and transform them into Awqaf. This is very important development that has been cleared by the board of IDB, which is to purchase of properties, because sometimes in member countries the law of Wakaf may not be ready yet, but we are ready to provide technical assistance. But in that regard, while everyone is catching up, purchase of properties is permitted, and after reimbursement of API financing, the project generate an average of 1 million income yearly. The sample beneficiaries of API portfolio is, of course, in Bangladesh, Fujairah, in Kenya, and also in Senegal. One of them is also in Somalia, in Kenya, a building which we finance for 4,000 students, 1,130 orphans, and in Bangladesh, of course, the University of Chittagong, International Chittagong, Bangladesh, for the construction of an office tower. This is not UIN or AIN, because this is more of an international university, which is private sector development project. For UIN is that we finance UIN through the government budget. Also, the Al Bayan Education Foundation in KSA is a construction of a hotel in the central area. We hope that we can have more projects in Medina and Mecca with Hajj funds, management agencies. They will be able to finance the project so that it can alleviate or to minimize some of the risks that the Hajj funds management agencies will be able to reap, and so that the better a bilateral institution like funds management, Hajj and IDB as multilateral will culminate into a better risk profile for the projects. And this is for Indonesia. We have one project that we are working on in construction of Waqf building in Indonesia. It is the beneficiary is the Raudatul Muta'alimin Foundation, development executive agency Provera developers. It is a construction of 22 levels office building. Project cost is $48 million. IDB contribution is 15 million, 15.5. But please, the esteemed audience, if this project would have been collateralized or put up in Indonesian bank, it would not have been able to be financed because of the Wakaf status of the land. The project implementation, the land contribution or the valuation that we did was $28 million. It is across some of the esteemed guests probably know that it is across Grand Amelia Hotel in Gatot Subroto area. The current status is design, supervision, consultant hired, and construction have been procured. We hope that this will be followed by many projects in Indonesia. Thank you very much. In sum, our portfolio for the financial institutions and APIF are just two of the asset class that we are putting on the table here. We hope that Pak Dansal and Pak Anggito will guide us through later regarding the asset classes that might be available for IDB to take on, because we are in the business of financing also. The Hajj Fund, the Tabung Hajis, and BPKH are in the business of equity participation, more of it. So we hope that we can work together so that the financing and the equity part can support the investment objectives of the Hajj funds in member countries. Thank you very much.
Mr. Zaki Mohammed, thank you so much for that presentation. That was an amazing presentation. To be honest, I think all the audience that are here, that was very well constructed, very well prepared. There's a lot to take away from it. I'm impressed with respect to the social impact investment that the organization makes in terms of development, especially for all the students that are here to understand and learn the kind of investments that ISDB makes into education, especially in religious institution and youth empowerment. And I think that one of the sectors that you looked at today was the health sector. And in today's time under pandemic conditions, health is now a priority. In 2012, I recall that Dato Tan Sri Abi Musa Al-Asari from Tabung Haji, he made a presentation in London at the British Museum, and he formally introduced the objectives, the vision of Tabung Haji to be as an institution that receives deposits and as a funds management institution. And it was challenging for many to take on board the principles and how they can adapt it to their countries, considering the cultural challenges and how there would need to be a paradigm shift in management principles in introducing such an initiative. I saw that Nigeria, with Jaiz Bank, they partnered with Jaiz Bank in Nigeria, and they began the introduction of a Hajj saving scheme. Unfortunately for them, their introduction for the Hajj funds and the saving scheme coincided with the pandemic. So, and on one side, they were pushing ardently forward in establishing the fund saving at the same time with the conversation that pilgrims will not be going. So that was a very difficult time. I know a lot of countries have looked towards Tabung Haji and often wondered how to establish such an institution, namely because they want to be able to go away from the dependency of subsidies from central government. As you know, in Muslim majority countries, you will have Ministry of Religious Affairs, and the Ministry of Religious Affairs are funded by government funds to operate, and Hajj is a major subset, and that takes quite a lot of resources to professionally carry out the duties. My conversations with a lot of the heads of Hajj missions is that they are wanting to establish a Hajj fund or a Hajj saving scheme, not simply because it benefits the pilgrims or it creates financial opportunity, but also so they can become more stable and self-sustaining as institutions. So certainly, I think Tabung Haji over the years have been extremely generous, and they have welcomed so many institutions to their organization, informing how such setup is also achieved. I've also found that over the last 7 years since I've known Dr. Anggito Abimanyu, he has also championed the conversation and the importance of Hajj management funds and saving schemes and how that creates stability. And like you have mentioned with the ISDB, flowing into a greater vision of Islamic economic development, the ability to pool funds from various countries, something to this effect, how that can achieve so many things. One of the questions that I actually wanted to ask our colleague Zaki Mohammed Mansour is that what are the advantages, except of financial returns, for the Hajj fund in properties? So I know a lot of times we speak of even BPKH making investments into transportation or into catering and into accommodation. Aside of the financial returns that could potentially be achieved, in terms of objectives of, say, Indonesia or Malaysia or any country that has a Hajj fund, aside of financial, what other benefits do they receive in the development of real estate? Do they receive any kind of benefits in terms of strategic advantage for their pilgrims, or their pilgrims are better accommodated? Is this something else that ISDB is helping them in terms of their objectives? This is just a question just for me off the cuff to Zaki Mohammed Mansour.
Brother Muhsin, I was cut off for 1 minute. Could you please, apology, could you repeat the question? I was cut off.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, first of all, we are really grateful to the leadership that ISDB has shown and has presented, and having granted investment opportunities within real estate into the holy cities, and being facilitated by ISDB. And as you have mentioned, BPKH has been one of those contributing partners. With the Hajj funds that are being invested in real estate within the holy cities through the vehicles set up through ISDB, apart from financial return incentives, what are the other benefits that, say, organizations like BPKH and Tabung Haji can expect in investing in property strategically for them in terms of enriching their pilgrims' experiences? Is there anything more there for them?
Thank you. Aside from returns, of course, having a AAA institution partnering with a sovereign institution like Tabung Haji, we call it sovereign because it is backed by the government and parliament, and also BPKH. It adds to the risk profile of the projects that might otherwise have a different profile if Tabung Haji and BPKH comes to Mecca or Medina themselves. Number one. Number two, it minimizes the financial commitment from Tabung Haji or BPKH if they want to have a national large, the leadership, the prime minister and the president of both countries would want a complex in Mecca and Medina, right? But it cannot be sustained if it's all the financing is from Tabung Haji or BPKH or Jordan Tabung Haji. This is where IDB comes in to play a part on the financial aspect of that. And hopefully, not only IDB, through our member to other banks in Saudi, it can also provide comfort. For example, if Tabung Haji and BPKH is applying for financing in Bank Al Bilad or Al Raji, it would be better to also have IDB there because we do have the relationship with all the local banks to be there. That's number two. Number three is the risk profile of the project itself. Once we are together, then to exit, to capitalize it for Sukuk later, it will have a better profile, right? Later to generate that extra liquidity, because right now Indonesia, as opposed to Malaysia, is not renting; it's renting, and Malaysia is Tabung Haji is way ahead. I must say, Pak Anggito, that Malaysia is purchasing this, and Malaysia is able to put it on the balance sheet, and it's very long-term benefit, and we hope that Indonesia will be able to do the same thing as Tabung Haji, to not rent but to actually leasehold, long-term lease, and to build its own building and to purchase with the experience of Tabung Haji. And that will go a long way, because that asset that they will buy in terms of long-term leasing will be able to support Indonesia Sukuk. If Indonesia is going to, it is a fiscal instrument, actually. Pak Anggito was the one who set up the Ministry of Finance fiscal policy 20 years ago. It is a fiscal tool that should be appreciated, to be harnessed, to be embraced, and we hope that will happen. So, but if you're asking me, Brother Mohsin, on what are the social and development impact, having Malaysia and Indonesia to have its investment in Mecca will only benefit its standing in Mecca, and not just coming to Mecca as individuals, but as an institution who is investing in Mecca, because Mecca is opening up. You know better than me, everybody else, Brother Mohsin, that Mecca is now blessed with a lot of great opportunities and great, of rulings that is beneficial for funds like Tabung Haji and PPKH if it also works with IDB and the like. So thank you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for your response on that. I think even our colleagues from Tabung Haji and even PPKH managed to take something away from that they're going to be happy with. So thank you so much for that. There is an elephant in the room at the moment, and the elephant in the room is that the pandemic is still here with us. And as you know, that it has compromised the ability for pilgrimage-related organizations to perform optimally. There is a huge desire for resumption to normalcy. But as you are all aware, that this is extremely challenging. In 2020, when the announcement was made, I managed to bring together a team of 17 specialists from around the world, and one of them was Dr. Anggito Abimanyu. And that was to evaluate Hajj under pandemic conditions, the feasibility, the scope, and to also kind of look into what are the success markers. And this report was shared with our colleagues here in Saudi Arabia, and we're grateful that they have taken some points away from that particular report. In a summary of that report was that a successful pilgrimage under pandemic conditions, zero COVID-19 transference, zero COVID-19 fatalities, and the maximum number of countries to be in participation. And as we are all aware, in 2020, we saw that 1,000 pilgrims were accommodated from 60 nationalities, and there was zero COVID-19 fatalities and zero COVID-19 transference. Now, moving forward from that today, I think it's important to reflect on the progress is being made and the trajectory. So in 2020, everything was brought to a standstill, and we saw 1,000 pilgrims being admitted into the Hajj program. In 2021, we have seen 60,000 pilgrims. So that is, by percentage status, a huge number. Again, the principle was the same. Zero COVID-19 transference, zero COVID-19 fatalities, and maximum number of countries in participation. So they managed to accommodate citizens of other nationalities living within Saudi Arabia to participate, but now in a greater ratio. Currently in 2020, the vaccines were not there. And in 2021 now, there are numerous vaccines that have been developed. One of the things that is happening is that, yes, in terms of zero COVID-19 fatalities, the vaccines is helping that. And that also helps the forecast in admitting more people. For us, internally, for us, ourselves, we see a forecast of about 270,000 to 500,000 pilgrims being confidently admitted into the pilgrimage under pandemic conditions, simply because of the vaccinations being made available. But that solves the challenge of zero COVID-19 fatalities. It doesn't stop the challenge of zero COVID-19 transference. And especially since there are risks of mutations. So in some countries, you will hear it, like India, they reached Delta from the coronavirus range of pathogens and how that evolves. So these are concerns that are there. So we have been working with colleagues, with organizations like PPKH or Convention Agama and other organizations around the world to develop particular mechanisms that can safeguard pilgrims, that can ensure that from the point of testing till the point of arrival, they can arrive in Saudi Arabia COVID-19 negative. We are excited that in December, we are going to host a presentation at the Jeddah Ritz-Carlton. And I think that's going to boost a lot of confidence globally. And we've just made a short video that we actually show to medical facilities, just looking at where we were, where we're going, and in kind of which kind of direction that we can be going. I just need to quickly consult with one of my colleagues. He's just got a message for me, so let me take that. Okay. So before we go to that, what I want to be able to do is just from the audience, potentially to take some questions, and let's see what kind of questions they want to give to the panelists here today. So I think we have a question from Hotel Barokuma Jogja, is that correct? So if you have a question from them, please, if you can go ahead. Okay. Okay, I don't think the question is there. So what I would like to do for each of our panelists, I would actually like to pose particular questions. I would like to start off with Dr. Anggito Abimanyu. So this will be my question for you. BPKH.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Thank you. Before that, I will say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for the time given to me. The first I say thank you for Mohsin Tutla and all of the presenters for today. It's very amazing information for me about this management Hajj, about the Hajj fund. It's very good information. And now I will say something for my question. This is how about the strategic or about the tactic of the institution of BPKH or maybe Tabung Haji to survive in pandemic era? Because we know that everything in pandemic era is very difficult. How about the work? How about to get money? And how about the get some income for the people in this country? And how to survive for that? And what is the impact of the pandemic era in this world? We know 2 years ago, maybe in this world on Indonesia, but other in Europe or Malaysia or this world, yeah, they have many impact for the income for the country about the pandemic, and how to recovery about the impact of pandemic about the Hajj, maybe we say institution of Hajj like this. And the last for me, what is the tactic of strategy of the institution to get the consumer, we can say to get the people go Hajj right now, because we stay in new normal in this day. So what is the tactic, or we can say what is the strategy of the institution to promote for this information how to go Hajj in Makkah, Madinah? Thank you. That's all for me. If I have many mistakes, I'm so sorry. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much for the question. I think you have communicated optimism and also concern. I think I would put some of the questions to Dr. Anggito Abimanyu for this. With respect to the first question, was alluding towards how an institution such as BPKH can survive and thrive under the pandemic condition, and what are the steps that you have taken for BPKH to continue with positive trajectory in pandemic conditions? If you can answer that for our questioner.
Terima kasih, thank you so much. Basically, as I said in our presentation, we first and foremost we revisit our existing plan, our medium plan, and we reorient our medium-term plan according to the new normal era. So we submit our medium-term plan to our parliament and our cabinet to anticipate the prolong of this pandemic situation. So basically we renewed our strategic plan in anticipating the pandemic. That's number one. Number two, basically we also, the three things we implement this new plan. One is to intensify the consultation with stakeholders, including the Muslims in general. We have intensified our communication throughout Indonesia. We trying to calm down them that the money is safe and the money is being well managed by us. People should not be worried about the money is being prudently managed. And we also having quite intensify our consultation with stakeholders. Number three, certainly with regards to the cancellation of Hajj, we reorient our investment portfolios. Initial plan was to invest in hotel and catering in Saudi. In fact, we have had quite intensified discussion with Muassasa on the catering projects, but we postponed that before we sign the agreements. But we are continue our effort to implement that after pandemic COVID-19, including number of strategic investment that we have had planned. We reorient that into other safer and more strategic investment. Like AICIF, we have quite lucky to find AICIF in the middle of losing our investment appetite in Saudi, but then we have AICIF, which is a AAA investment portfolio, and AICIF has been given us quite healthy return, and also as Zaki has said, that we have been able to find AAA institutions, and we have been also using AICIF to invest in number of properties around the world beyond Hajj. So basically we go beyond Hajj because you know Hajj is not being able to perform. But last strategic plan that we have been able to transform our organizations as much stronger than before. In the past, we promote physical meeting, but now with the new normal, with the digitalized systems, and we invest quite significant effort and energy and resources to promote digitalization in our system. In fact, we are teamed up with our Tabung Haji Malaysia. In the past, our registration is due with the physical meetings, so pilgrim has to go to the bank to register. But now, with the new, thank God, Alhamdulillah, with the pandemic, we speed up our process to digitalize our system. Now, even Minister of Religious Affairs and us now is in the process of finalizing the digitalized registration, which is good for people outside Java, particularly who has difficulties and transferring the money or registering the money because of the distance and the physical distance, and etc. But with the new technology and internet connection, we should be able to. I think I am amazed with J. Damsal testimony with regards to increasing the registration even during the pandemic situation, among others because of the access to the financial system is not to us is new. So with this COVID, our strategy is becoming more digitalized and more
wonderful. I think, yes, wonderful. I have a follow-up question, which is both critical and compromising, and I'm going to put that forward to Mohammed and Shah. Right now, with the pandemic conditions as you know, it's affected travel and tourism sector, especially in Hajj and Umrah. As you know, perhaps there are 70 hotels that are operating in the Haramain out of 1,400 currently. Would this be a good time to invest in Mecca?
Okay, difficult question. Actually, I think, Brother Muslim, you know that Tabung Haji has already invested in. But actually, we to look into it in more accurately is we invested in long-term lists rather than the hotel itself. I think due to regulatory requirement. So we have already invested in long-term lease in some of the hotels. So for now, there's not much clarity or visibility on the opportunity yet, but we are open. Yeah.
Thank you so much. With regards to the third question, the question I asked is, what is the tactic for people to go Hajj for now? The word tactic is actually quite strong. But what I can say, if I can potentially answer that question for the question. Number one, performing pilgrimage today is not the same as it was performing pilgrimage prior to COVID-19. With COVID-19, it has changed everything on its head, where it's not about Ministry of Hajj decisions that are exclusively affecting this particular area, but it's also about health. Whether is the health safety there, and that will allow for the potential. So you have to kind of monitor what's going on around the world. We understood that, us as an institution, ourselves as an organization, we understood that we need to tackle the really important problem. And this is something tactically a lot of governments have not discussed, which is the development of a bilateral agreement between two countries to develop mitigating health risk measures, and then having both parties sign this to make sure that pilgrims are not only going to Saudi Arabia COVID-19 negative, but also coming back home COVID-19 negative. Because this is the importance, it's about not transferring COVID-19. Now, we began developing a mechanism which guarantees that pilgrims going to Saudi Arabia will remain COVID-19 negative from the point of testing till the point of arrival. Now, ad hoc, this was actually trialed from a flight from Nigeria with an A350 flight, 340 passengers, 335 seated from Abuja to Medina, all tested COVID-19 negative and all arrived COVID-19 negative. We have developed a particular mechanism that can oversee this particular process. When you can give and grant that kind of confidence, it becomes much easier for Saudi authorities to be able to welcome. How did we kind of achieve that? We evaluated the problem at the core. So what we know, what the pandemic condition has done, has broken and breached confidence everywhere in every institution. People cannot make the same kind of decisions because things are no longer the same. So one of the key reasons is that pilgrims were coming into Saudi Arabia and they were testing with COVID-19 negative certificates, and they were testing COVID-19 positive here in Saudi Arabia. As you know, that poses a huge risk to the community. So the first thing that needed to be able to be done is that we needed to ensure that the certificates are authentic, and then to make sure that from the point of testing, the mechanisms are in place, that we create a bio bubble whereby by the time they arrive, before they arrive, you will still know that the pilgrims are COVID-19 negative. This kind of initiatives is what's required tactically. In terms of tactics, there are jurisdictional issues. So, for example, Saudi Arabia cannot say to another country that you need to have this in place so you can welcome your pilgrims from your country. Because on the same token, the other countries can say, what have you done to make sure that our pilgrims are coming back COVID-19 negative also? These are critical questions that will be asked. So we know that there are huge sensitivities. So the word tactic is also a very sensitive question. What's required at this moment are not tactics. It's careful consideration and cooperation and deep study, and then basically mutual understanding on how to find a way forward. My colleagues have asked me to just simply quickly play a video for yourselves that will kind of summarize the conversation that I'm sharing with you for now. So if they would like to play that video, please go ahead. Who's playing the video?
Do you remember a time when all in an imperfect world was perfect? Today, the world has certainly changed. Travel culture, as we knew it, will never remain the same. Who was to know?
China has more than 200 confirmed cases of coronavirus, it's called, which produces pneumonia-like symptoms.
China says the number of people infected by a mysterious respiratory virus has more than tripled over the weekend.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
نبدأ سعوديا، حيث أعلنت وزارة الصحة اليوم عن ظهور نتائج مخبرية تؤكد تسجيل أول حالة إصابة بفيروس كورونا الجديد كوفيد-19.
بالتالي وصل إجمالي عدد الحالات في المملكة العربية السعودية المؤكدة بالإصابة بالفيروس 17,500.
With every passing death, we lost our freedom. Isolate. Remain home. Cover your faces. I'm lost. I'm trapped. You've given me fear and taken from me my being, my choices, my confidence. Can this really be the new normal? Testing for COVID-19 is free for everyone. Keep safe, be responsible, and keep others safe. Take the vaccine. It's available, but not for everyone. Be mindful. Don't fake your medical documents for travel purposes. Saudi Arabia opens a special corridor for pilgrims.
أولاً المملكة العربية السعودية على كامل استعدادها لخدمة الحجاج والمعتمرين في جميع الأحوال.
Safety guides to accompany pilgrims throughout their journey. Free movement of Hajj and Umrah pilgrims is possible. A guarantee given: every pilgrim traveling to Saudi Arabia is free from COVID-19. A guarantee given: every pilgrim traveling back home from Mecca is free from COVID-19. A Mecca initiative, helping the world to take its first step towards normalizing international travel.
Thank you so much for watching that short presentation. But it is the vision and the concept that we need to be working towards guarantees. With guarantees, it kind of gets for us the stability that's required. With stability is generally the foundation for strong investments. So there needs to be a heavy investment, and I believe there has to be a heavy focus on rejuvenating the Hajj Umrah process, making sure that health today is the priority over and above the need for performing the pilgrimage itself, making sure that people are safe. There's a responsibility. And with that, I think you will find that institutions, especially financial institutions, they will provide the solutions that everybody is looking for by providing that stability in service. So that will be the conclusion for this session. I would like to just thank all of our colleagues that are here today. Thank you so much, Mohammed Damshal, for being here with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Anggito Abimanyu, for being here with us today. And also, thank you so much, Mr. Zaki Mansour, for being here with us today as well. And I look forward to actually meeting with you in Jeddah. If you're still here, it will be a pleasure to actually meet with you. And also the rest of the colleagues. Inshallah, I hope you all make it here to Jeddah and to Mecca and to Saudi Arabia. We will see it. I know there's going to be a photo session from the organizers. It's part of their legacy. As we all know, this is the 9th, so we're going to look forward to the 10th, and hopefully we'll be here together next year also. So let us just wait for the organizers to take that photo shoot, and they're going to expect a big smile from everybody, even though it's pandemic. We're getting through it.
Yeah.
Okay, just so the organizers, we're ready to smile for you. Oh, that was by surprise, you need to wait.
Okay.
You have it?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, thank you to all of our audience for patiently being here with us. Just for our colleagues at UIN, it was my privilege in 2013 to visit the university. It has a lot of flaws, that's what I remember. But it was definitely a privilege to be there. And I think the direction that our colleagues and the vision that they have at ISDB, at Tabung Haji, at BPKH, is definitely going to pave a better future under the new normal. And I think that we have to be optimistic, and as we chart a new way under such circumstances. So thank you so much for everyone for being here. My greetings to you all, and have a good day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Salam.
Terima kasih Pak Zaki, Pak Cik Jamsal ya. Kapan-kapan jumpa lagi ya.
Insyaallah.
Ya, jumpa lagi.
Insyaallah.
Pak Zaki, makasih ya.
Terima kasih Pak.
Ya.
Thank you very much to our moderator for the great moderating and all of the insightful knowledge that has been given to all of us. Again, we hope that what has been delivered here today by our speakers have been enlightening in some way. We thank you all for listening.
نقدم جزيل الشكر للمتحدث ورئيس الجلسة.
And now, finally, ladies and gentlemen, all of our prestigious guests, allow us to end this third plenary session, and that will also end today's series of events. We thank you all very much for attending, and we hope this first day of the 9th ASEAN University's International Conference on Islamic Finance, or AICIF 2021, has been fruitful to all of our audiences. And to all of our speakers, we thank you all for sharing your knowledge. And this ends the first day of the 9th ASEAN International Conference on Islamic Finance. Thank you, everyone, for coming.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin, kafa bihada barnamijuna al-yawm, nahnu kar'is al-jalsah, naqulu syukran ala kulli timaminkum, ila liqa, ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Makan